So one issue we're facing is that all the props are missing in our wrapped components, like the name and the age. The reason for this is that in our higher order with class component, we're outputting wrapped component, but wrapped component can be either app.js or person.js. Now correctly, both the title and the props the person.js components would expect are missing. Because these components get props, except for now they don't anymore, because they are our wrapped component and we don't pass any props here. Now of course we can't hardcode the props here because it's not like we have to pass name here. That would work for the person component, but the app component or any other component we might wrap with this might require totally different props. There's one single simple thing we should do. Just pass on the existing props. Now how do you do that? You take advantage of a ES6 operator, the spread operator. Keep in mind that props are just an object of key value pairs. Now you can output some dynamic content on this wrapped component with single curly braces and use the three dots, the spread operator, on the props object to simply split it up into these key value pairs and pass them to wrapped component. This syntax might look strange at first, but in the end it simply means pass on the props as you get them. Don't do anything else with them, just pass them on. Split them up into key value pairs so that you can validly assign them to this wrapped component. Now with that, if you save this, you immediately see up on the reload the title is back and so is our person data, and everything works as it did before. So now we got a truly reusable higher order component. And then there's this other thing I mentioned, that this higher order component doesn't have to return a functional component as it does here. It depends on what you need to do in your higher order component. If you need access to lifecycle hooks, for example, if you plan on reaching out to the web and fetch the currently authenticated user and kind of do something with that, if that's your plan, you will need a stateful component. And you can do that. I'm going to copy that code and comment it out up there. And now simply insert it again. Instead of returning a function, you can also return a class which extends component, or even pure component of course, which you then also need to import from React component. And now that we extended this, we have a normal syntax here, as you know it, where we should have a render method. In the render method, we will in the end return some JSX. So just as we do in normal stateful components. And as always, the difference is props can be accessed with this props. So a normal stateful component, only difference is after the class keyword, there is no name because it's like an anonymous class. We're returning it. We're having a class factory here. We have a function that returns a class on demand. And the class name doesn't matter. What matters to us is the render method, which wraps our component with a div with, in this case, a class name. So now with that, if I save it, it works perfectly fine too. Now we got a wrapping component, which is a class. So these are higher order components, and you saw some examples here. You will see them again throughout the course. And as I mentioned, there are a lot of third-party packages which actually use higher order components. So that is also one form where you will see them a lot.